I am here with Red Sun. We are looking.
Hello.
We are looking at Matt Cullen's match against Spoker. Matt is playing Germany, Japan mid-range. All we know at the moment, we're looking at this from Matt's perspective, is that Spoker is Japan main. So when you see Japan main red, what are you putting your opponent on, and how important is that?
So 90% of the time, well, based on my own experiences, 90% of the time it's Jaggro I'm facing. Um, and as you know, there's like the weirdest kind of like Jaggro is out there at the moment. So I would expect them having a broad variety of cards that can deal with my one drops like GEBIRGS-PIONIERs and Out of the Mist, for instance, or a Type 94 TK early.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm not sure if
So we're going to narrow it down and say, okay, if it's Japan main, Spoker is likely not playing Japan USA Tony OTK. He's probably playing Jaggro. Now, whether it's the hyper aggressive Jaggro version or the more chunkier version, we don't know. But we're predicting Japan main, Germany ally.
yeah, and all of these lists have ways of dealing with your GEBIRGS-PIONIERs there. So I don't know if that's like a good card to keep in that matchup.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
And I'm looking at what, like, we know, if we don't know, if he's on Jaggro, right, the most common list, and this is just for me going through lists, so they would likely have 4 cards to deal with a turn 1 GEBIRGS. They're going to have 2 Out of the Mist and 2 Type 94 TK earlies. So there's a 43.6% chance that Spoker has an answer for GEBIRGS. So it's still favorable for you, but ultimately it's 50-50, right?
It's
So
also because you go in second, which is a bit concerning, like keeping the GEBIRGS here. I mean, if it works, if it like sticks for like a turn or two, that's amazing. That's awesome.
So the question would be, like, because we're looking at the opening hand, if the decision is made to keep GEBIRGS, we're playing it turn 1, right? You just made the decision to keep it. If you have an answer for it, great. Too bad for us. But if you don't have an answer for it, you're going to go turn 1 GEBIRGS, and if he doesn't take the front line, you're jamming 64 Panzer to the front.
Yeah.
But if you decide not to keep, if you're not playing GEBIRGS on turn 1, you're not going to keep GEBIRGS in the hand.
There is no reason to keep it if you don't play it turn 1, in my opinion.
All right, so if you're playing this, you're going second against Spoker on likely Jaggro. Out of these 5 cards, what are you keeping, if any?
Yeah, probably keeping the 15 cav and the GEBIRGS, not the GEBIRGS, pardon, the 64 Panzergranads.
Do you think the odds of keeping 64 Panzer and getting it to the front on 3 is good? Or are you just going to use it to be a defensive card and you're not looking?
As a trader against like 35 Ts and...
Yeah, okay. So you're on a 15th and a 64, which I agree with. If you keep GEBIRGS, it's not something that I think is an awful keep at all. I think you're either going to play the hand aggressively or you're going to play the hand conservatively. But the suboptimal play is if you keep GEBIRGS, suboptimal is, unless he plays like a 94 on 1 or something like that, then you're going to play 15th. But if he doesn't, if the opponent doesn't play a card that's going to come down and take out GEBIRGS, I am playing GEBIRGS turn 1. All right.
I agree with that.
So he kept that, which is a decent, it's not bad. You've got infantry to fuel 35T. Spoker leads with Type 93. What does that tell you? I'll tell you what it means to me, but I'll let you tell me what it means to you.
Okay, sure. That tells me that he probably has I mean, by his standards, bad opening hand. You usually open up with a 1-drop infantry, or much like if he's running GEBIRGS, he would have probably played GEBIRGS there. He just wants to get some units down to be able to trade case we seize the front line. I would still play the GEBIRGS because that forces him to trade. And if he trades, that's fine, right? That's just what we want. I mean, if we lose it, we're gonna lose it. We're gonna lose it in an even trade, right?
Yeah, and actually, they would be spending
2 credits.
twice the resources to deal with the Gebirgs. But when I see Type 93 come out on 1, it's telling me that your hand is shit.
Yep.
And that I feel like I am, like, because you certainly don't have Type 94 in hand. That's for sure, right? You don't
just broke down everything I said and said it in like one line.
Yeah.
And tell you that your hand is shit. Yeah.
We can pretty much go. We can pretty much go. Type 94 is not in his hand. 15th Cav is not in his hand. If he's playing Gebirgs, it's not in his hand. Maybe he has an Out of the Mist, and he's, you know, predicting what you might lead. But Germany main can be Germany USA main. It can be the non-Gebirgs main. So if he's thinking that he's going to go ahead and Out of the Mist on your turn, okay. I mean, I can see that. But Type 93 tells me his hand is very weak.
Yep.
And I'm jamming Gebirgs here.
Yep.
On my turn. Let's see what the draw is.
Can you pause for a second?
Yeah.
Also noteworthy. I haven't played the game in 2 weeks, I know, but I don't expect the meta to change significantly within 2 weeks. This could have also been like, now we revealed our ally nation, but this could have also been, hypothetically speaking, Germany, Italy control, Germany, Brit discard. There's like many different.
Yeah, absolutely. Spoker doesn't know what Matt's playing, right? Yeah. So I'm sure Spoker's making some type of calculated decision. I think when I see Germany main, it's one of the more diverse nations. It can be a lot of different things. Absolutely. I'm probably thinking the combination is Germany, Japan, or Germany, USA, but at least I've narrowed it down to an archetype. And if you come out with something else, then that's just the way that it is. But the Type 93 play, I don't know what's in Spoker's hand at the moment, but that tells me it's not good, and I don't even know if I play it, to be honest with you.
Like 60% of the time, I would agree that it's like some form of mid-range. It's either like a German ally, it's a Japanese ally, or US ally. 60% of the time, it's that.
Yeah. Or let's go on. Now, he's played 15th. I'm for leading with Gebirgs and forcing him to trade or deal with the consequences, because I've got the Gebirgs to fuel out Panzer 35T. Yep. But he decides not to go with Gebirgs and run 15th, where I think we're on the same page that leading with 15th is probably not the most optimal move. Are you pushing 15th to the front, or are you going to just hold it back and you're leaving 15th here to fuel 35?
Hold it back to fuel 35.
Yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't push it either.
The reason behind this is like he still, if he drops a 35T, it's not going to trade well with our 15 Cav. He can still do the same thing that we initially discussed with the Gebirgs. He can move it up and spend 2 credits to get rid of our 35T enabler. But it's still not favorable for him. So
yeah. I agree.
I'll leave it back.
I wouldn't push it either. If I make the 15th, I mean, again, we leave with Gebirgs, but if we don't leave with Gebirgs and we go with 15th, I'm certainly not pushing 15 to the front. I'm going to make him spend credits to come down here and do this. And if he doesn't, if Spoker doesn't deal with it, then obviously I'm going 35T more than likely, depending on what Spoker plays. And at that point, I might push both, but we'll get there, I suppose. But I'm not doing that play. I think that's suboptimal. And again, suboptimal doesn't mean right, wrong. It just means suboptimal, right?
It just feels a bit rushed.
Yeah.
It feels a bit like, hey, I have an infantry with blitz, and let's utilize the blitz.
And I think with Signal too, he drew that.
Yeah.
He certainly leads with it if he has it in the opener. And for the sake of not rewinding it, I think he did top deck that, which is a great top deck for him.
It's one of those units you want to get
at this point
as soon as possible.
With just Signal on the board, I'm certainly leading Gebirgs on my turn to fuel the 35T and try to get ahead on credits. I don't like playing 35T with a 1-op cost here when I have the option of just playing Gebergs and passing.
Yeah.
Because if I do that, if I play Gebergs and he doesn't answer it, I'm turn 3 Southern Plan, which is ahead of curve. Like, you're really going to be ahead on resources if you do that. Are you in agreement with that, or you got something different?
I completely agree.
Do you want me to pause?
Rating. Yep, rating coming out.
Yep.
I did not expect Spoker to play a rating to get rid of one operation cost 35T, but I guess that's just like him wanting to establish like a bold presence and keeping us at bay, I guess.
It makes me think, too, even more so, that he really does not like his hand. Like, his hand is either extremely top-heavy, or maybe I'm expecting a turn 4 Dragon Slayer or something else. But whatever he's got in there is very heavy, very expensive, or it's nothing that's furthering his plan. That's the way I look at it. So, and we've seen this with Type 93 on 1. He got lucky when he hit the signal. Then he plays Raiding Brigade on an inefficient 35T. So this all looks good for you if this is being sculpted differently from turn 1. So we're three turns in, and we're still kind of just almost kind of like floundering a little bit. But we'll see. We'll keep going.
Sure, he's gonna have a way to get rid of that. Okay, the long-awaited draw.
So he had the honorable death, which he played here. The honorable death would have been in the opener, and I think expansion was played here. So I think he was on honorable death, expansion, Raiding Brigade. Yeah, his opening hand would have been Type 93, Raiding Brigade, honorable death, and expansion. Everything else he's drawing into. All right, I'm gonna pause it. What's your play here?
Let me think. I'd probably just play the Southern Plan. I mean,
I'm of the mindset that unless I am under a tremendous amount of pressure, if I'm playing Southern Plan, Admiral Hipper, I'm trying to play them on curve. Like, I do not want to be on turn 10 stuck with a Southern Plan in my hand.
There's only so few targets. Sorry, I cut you off there.
No,
but there's only so few targets where in this matchup, Admiral Hipper is like worth playing on, in my opinion.
Right.
Namingly will be like a Schützen, Schützen or Winter that have been moved into the front line. So you don't usually play a Hipper to send those back if they're in the back line. Yeah, so you could play the Panzergrens. I guess you could also do the if you're really concerned about him like establishing a front line, you could also, hypothetically speaking, drop the 94 TK, then slap a 101st on it and just deal with a Raiding Brigade. That leaves you with a 2-5 trader, which is pretty good.
Yeah. I prefer on this turn Southern Plan myself.
Yeah.
I don't mind Southern Plan into Admiral. Sometimes people will play Admiral on curve no matter what. I don't necessarily mind it, especially if it's following a Southern Plan, because I am cutting them off of a card and a credit, and I've just accelerated in credits the turn before. So even though I would like much more valuable targets, like, hey, they spent 5 credits and then I spend 5 credits to return it, now they got to spend another 5, I can still gain the tempo on a Southern Plan to Admiral back sequencing. So that's just something I'm not bouncing Raiding Brigade back, that's for sure.
No, yeah.
But Southern Plan, I think, is the play here.
Also, you have to be really careful most of the time when you play a bounce, right? You usually, unless it's to prevent lethal or prevent like catastrophic events from happening, you usually don't play on units with deployment effects, right?
Right.
If you don't absolutely have to. Okay,
I'll pause it.
so
Yeah.
our opponent played Take Liberty,
Yeah. Take Liberty, pass.
which isn't the worst thing to
Yeah.
happen here.
I agree.
I mean, it's not the end of the world. We got an autocannon. We got a Panzer III-H, which is like a good draw and trader in this situation. So I like the play here. I like Loki. Getting rid of the rating is a good play, although I'm a bit concerned about the positioning here. I know that there's been debates on the card server and in the greater cards community that like bombing rate isn't as good anymore. I still think it's one of the best cards in the Japanese arsenal. But you'd always expect them to have it, right? You would never go gamble and go like, yeah, he doesn't run bombing rate. You'd always have to expect him to have bombing rate, right?
Well, we agree at the moment that autokanone into 64 Panzer, 64, getting a ping damage off the cannon. We've removed the front unit. That's what we're all in agreement on. But it's the positioning of this. Let me just take it forward just a little bit. So, bombing rate at the moment, we trade here. Let's let the trade happen so we can see the damage on the units. Okay. So we have 1 damage on the 64 Panzer and a 3-3 autokanone. You think that the positioning of this is that the 64 Panzer should be located where on the board?
I'll give you some reasoning. So when playing against Jaggro, also Soviets, but in this case, like, let's just focus on Jaggro. I'd always expect them to have like a 1 damage ping, namely the Type 94 TK here, or it can also be like an out the mist, right? But namingly the Type 94 TK. So for him on 5 credits, it's really easy to just get rid of everything on the board, plus dealing the 3 damage to RHQ with bombing rate. So to avoid that, to avoid all that happening at once, you could play the 64th Panzergrens in between the autocannon and UHQ.
Right here. So if we have the cannon to the left of the HQ, you're putting the 64 Panzer in between the cannon and the HQ, because if he bombing raids the cannon, yes, he can take out the cannon, yes, he can take out the 64, but the HQ is spared. If we position like this, he can target the HQ directly, take out the 64 Panzer, and then a Type 94 can take out the cannon. You have an empty board and 3 damage to your life.
Yep. Okay. He can still do all of that. He can still like, if the positioning would have been different, like we just discussed, he could have still played the bombing rate, get rid of the autocannon and the 64 Panzergrens, and then play the Type 94 TK to hit our face for 1 damage. But
we'd be 2 damage less if we position it this way. The most optimal play is cannon, 64, then the headquarters, and that's the most optimal positioning. Yep.
All right, buddy. Okay.
So we have our draw, and then when I first saw the video, I always like to look at the board, at what they potentially have in hand, and when I look at it, I go, what is the priority here? What is the priority target on the board? And my first thought, looking at this board, was the 22nd Panzer 22nd Infantry has to go. He's only got 3 cards in hand. I have to cut him off on drawing an extra card per turn, even 1.
Yep.
So my priority is 22nd. What is your priority?
In like looking at what's in the realm of like, you know, possible possibilities. We cannot get rid of the signal. It'd be really nice to just stop the 3 damage if we kill everything that he has on the board at the moment. But yeah, I agree that the top priority, not looking at the signal, would be the 22nd. Because he's on 3 cards, and that is usually good. You don't want, if you're facing Jaggro, you don't want them to have like a lot of cards.
Yeah.
Because that means a lot of options, a lot of threats, etc.
Now you're sequencing. I'm assuming that you're counting credits before you're doing anything, and that you know for sure that it's going to take 3 credits to clear the board. Depending on how we clear it is, you know, we can figure that out. But we know we could, at a minimum, cannon the 22nd, take out Yokosuka with the 64 Panzer, take out take 94s. They'll trade out there, and we have 4 credits left. So we're going to 4 credits for sure first off the Panzer III-H to get the draw. But we know we need 3 credits no matter what, so we can do the Panzer III-H first.
That's it's funny because you're asking me what we do. So like, if I'm playing, if I'm let's say if I'm well rested, right, and if I'm playing competitively, if I'm laddering or playing in a tournament and I'm well rested, I'm counting my credits. That's for damn sure. Now, if I'm half asleep and I'm streaming or whatever, right, then that's a different thing. But we're talking like optimal plays, and yeah, I'm definitely counting my credits.
Okay. Now your sequence here is what we agree that Panzer III-H is the play to see the draw. So let's take the draw. What are you selecting?
Okay. I wouldn't. I know it seems tempting, but I would not pick the Heinkel. I'm leaning towards 20 Panzergrens because it's like it's like a Russian nesting doll, right? It's 2 units in one, and you have the artillery, which if the autocannon survives the turn, acts as a +1 if you play combined arms. So I'd probably go with Panzergrens here for the next turn.
Yeah, I'm on Panzergren too, mainly because on the following turn, if we do have to use its blitz ability to take out a unit, we have that luxury.
I mean, so 7 Schützen isn't wrong per se.
Right.
It's not like a game ending or like. I would probably just say I don't pick the Heinkel. The Heinkel is. I know a lot of his units have 1 defense, but it's.
Yeah,
it's like a
Heinkel is my least of the 3. Like I literally have the order as it's displayed on screen.
Yeah, same.
I have 20 Panzer, Schützen, and Heinkel.
Yeah. I would go with Panzergrens. If I had to choose, I would go with Panzergrens. Okay, he went with Schützen. That's fine. Yeah, I would drop this and I would trade. I would trade autocannon and Panzergrens to the front line and push up the early. And get rid of his.
Because we have to think that we're not getting the credits. If we don't deal with 22nd, we're not getting the credits off 64 Panzer. So
like 92% of the time you won't get the credits.
Yeah, not this late in the game. Yeah. So the one thing that would be suboptimal is to Panzer the front and autocannon the front, Type 94 to trade out, and pushing 64 Panzer, which can't reach the 22nd Infantry.
And the problem is, like, all he needs is the 1 drop with Blitz that can trade out for 64 Panzergren, and then he pushes up 22nd, and he still gets the draw, and at the same time maintains control over the front line.
Yeah. Now,
which are the 2 things I would try and avoid.
Like, the one thing that I don't like of all the possibilities, I don't want I don't want the end result of this to be 64 in the front, because it can't take out the 22nd, and it's a sitting target for the opponent. Schützen, Winter Regiment, if he's playing any of that. So I have to use the 64 on one of these two. Mm-hmm. So it's either 64 to this, Type 94 to this, and cannon to the 22nd, or, yeah, any of that would do. Now it's going to be an empty front line, but that's okay. You would have a 2-4 Panzer III-H and a 3-3 cannon in the back line. So if he's going to push, it's not that's fine. Like, what is he going to push with, right?
So if we look at the board here on our side, right, the outcome is the same. The problem is, like, everything that we trade, putting the autocannon aside, right?
Yeah.
If the 64 Panzergrenadiers was on 2 health, I would trade the 94 TK into his 94 TK early, so that the Yokosuka loses the +1 attack. So we can trade with the 64, and the 64 still stays alive, taking only 1 damage. But since all of our tradable stuff here is on 1 defense, it really doesn't matter.
Yep. Now, I mean, I guess it could be said, hey, I need a unit in the front to cut him off expansion, but I don't think you cut him off expansion. If he has a unit in that, I don't think you cut it off. I think just taking out 22nd for sure is priority number 1, in my opinion.
Yep.
Spoker's certainly taking his time on this play, which is good. You'll see a lot of top players really take the time and utilize the clock. He's in no rush. That caught me, Model 11 caught me a little off guard. I didn't expect that, to be honest with you. And with smoke screen, there's nothing you can do about it. So
not the classic Jaggro, or not the classic card in Jaggro that you would expect to see there. Can you pause real quick?
Paused.
What I've done differently here is, because you can twist it and turn it as you like, you're gonna lose the autocannon, most likely, right? I mean, if you can't deal with a bomber, which we can't at the moment, you're gonna lose the autocannon.
Because the moment he attacks with Model 11, if nothing else is played, this is swinging for 4 damage.
Exactly.
So no matter what, that's gone. But if you put the 101st on the 3H,
you get a 3-5.
Yeah.
That survives the bomber's attack.
Right.
And presents a threat to your opponent's HQ. And
blocks a Schützen or Winter Regiment.
Yeah, well, at the same time, he has to be worried about the... I mean, he has to trade the autocannon. That's...
Yes, 100%.
Not up for debate. So, at the same time, we have, like, 2 5 defense units, which are going to survive the bomber's attacks, right? And he, like, what is he doing from there? Like, he cannot really just ignore our board, right, and go face, because then he will lose. So here I would have dropped the 101st on the Panzer III-H.
So we have 101 pincering the 3H.
Yeah.
Attacking for 3.
Yeah.
And so we're attacking for 6 damage.
Yeah, and then also drop the Panzer III-H.
Yeah. I certainly think he's in a position to race, but it's also, I think, potentially it can be made more difficult. Yeah, like the naval supply run. Right?
Oh shit! All right.
So that's pretty crazy. Naval supply run being in the deck doesn't surprise me. The Model 11 is what surprised me. So now that's interesting, because this is it's probably a 2-turn clock, really, because you got 6 damage and you got repeated 6 damage. That's 12, but then Signal is going to get in potentially for a ping or 2, and And there's also, well, he's only got 7 credits, so Sheeden is not going to help him. But yeah, this is interesting.
All right. He's playing the 35. Okay.
The Panzer III-H I like here.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure.
Also what I would have done. Schützen isn't all too helpful. Like you push it on the front line, you spend 5 credits on it, right? It's just gonna fall victim to the bomber. So yeah. Panzer III-H to
Interestingly, as just like the last Panzer III-H,
yeah.
the order is the order. That I would prefer MEBF out of the mid-second, 22nd last.
So,
like, there's no way I'm picking 22nd because I've already got one. It's not going to help
exactly,
you.
Yeah.
So we agree that MEBF 109G is the pick.
Yeah, because we need something to defend against that bomber, right?
Yeah.
And while we have the MEBF, he's not going to do shit as long as the MEBF is alive. He has to focus the MEBF first before continuing to hit our face with that bomber.
Yeah, so we're gonna utilize the pseudo guard.
Yep, pseudo guard. I like that.
Now, are you playing the 35? Are you playing 109G now?
I tell you what. Okay, Schützen is strange.
I don't like the Schützen play. I like the MEBF for the pseudo guard.
What I'll just like. So what I would have played here is I would have dropped the MEBF on the Panzer 35T in the front line, then traded out his Panzer 35T. We get 1 credit back, so we can push up the 101st and drop the 22nd, right? If I counted out right.
Let me take it back so we can get the credits.
So we had 5 credits, right?
We have 5 credits. So you're saying you would play the MEBF 109G, pincer it with the 35T in the front, take the 35T and attack this 35T.
Yeah, we get the credit back and the card.
We get the credit and the cards.
3 credits, so we pushed up the 2-5 and dropped the
22nd. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, can you pause real quick? Sorry. Because we have the pseudo guard, right? We have draw, and we have like a 2-5, which, I mean, name a unit that can deal with the 2-5 in his deck other than the bomber that he has on board.
Right.
Also, our pseudo guard is a nice threat, like 3 damage to face in that position.
It definitely buys us a turn.
Yep.
We have a 2-5. He's only got 2 cards left, so even if we play MEBF, it's possible he has honorable death number 2 if he's running 2 copies. Most do, some don't. So he could honorable death the MEBF. I don't hate attacking face here, but I think the most optimal is the MEBF to draw another card, gain a credit, play the 22nd, gain another card. So we'd be up 2 cards. And a bomber that can attack face. It'll be interesting what the next 2 cards are. That could be in our hand this turn. Yep. But I don't think this is awful, mainly because you're just ahead on cards. But I prefer the prior line of the MEBF. I mean, MEBF has to come down for sure, just to block the bomber.
Yeah. I'd love to see the MEBF this turn, but that's just
yeah, for sure.
The only thing that I would say, that I would argue, is like not a good play is pushing up the Schützen.
Right.
But everything else,
because it's going to die to the bomber.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Signal, like, he can clear Schützen. Signal can clear the 35T in the front. He can bring the 35T. That's 4-1 down. And you've got 2 units in the support line. Or 1 unit if he does that, which is smart. Comet is a wonderful save.
Yeah. All right.
So no matter what I'm doing here,
yeah, I'll win the game.
I'm playing Comet and the MEBF, right? Like, no matter what, both of these are. I'm pseudo bombering just because I don't want anything to go crazy. I'm not going to take 6 to the face. 22nd infantry, whatever. But I'm playing Comet and the MEBF.
Hmm. Yep.
See, I don't play 22nd there to draw an extra card because he has nothing. There's nothing that he can do.
They don't play no guards. They
Yeah.
don't play no countermeasures. They
There's
don't.
nothing that he can do. So I might as well block the 6.
Yeah.
That's game.
And then there's the 30-14. Yeah. Sure. That's I don't.
That's
I don't
it.
know if Loki or Matt was playing for the Comet top deck here.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure he was probably calculating his outs.
Yeah.
I think the game, like, congrats on the win. That's an awesome win
Mhm.
against Spoker. Do I think it could be played more optimally? Yeah, for sure. I would probably say slow down a little bit, really think the turns through. There's some sequences that look like they were being played a little quickly, which can happen. It's a big flaw of mine, especially when the opponent plays a card I'm not expecting, like a Model 11. It just throws me off my game for a second, and I really have to insist on slowing down. But anyway, thank you so much for your commentary. I enjoyed it very much, and I'll go ahead and
Yeah.
stop. Thanks again.
Thank you.